Good morning. Today is Friday, January 13th, 2023. Cell phones, like every innovation, can be wonderful and also terrible. Today, I want to focus just on cell phones and prayer, with a few comments at the end on cell phones on Shabbat and Yom Tov. Like many people, I have a Siddur app on my phone, and it is wonderful to always have a prayer book with you wherever you are. Even if you happen to know the prayer by heart, it is still preferable to have the words in front of you to be able to concentrate better, and having an app like this is a big benefit. Of course, if a person is going to use that, it is important to block any notifications so that you are not distracted by what else may be going on the phone during prayer. And cell phones are wonderful, even life-saving. To be able to have a phone at all times in case of an emergency or a crisis, where legitimately you should interrupt your prayer to respond, that is a wonderful, amazing thing. And cell phones are terrible for prayer. The essence of prayer is to be aware we are speaking directly to God, and therefore to remove all distractions. Cell phones are a major, harmful source of distractions during prayer, and its effects are widely evident. A person should not, under normal circumstances, use or even look at a cell phone during prayer for any reason. Now, I want to openly confess that I am not perfect in this area. Though I try, I myself have a lot of room for improvement, and so by speaking about this today, I am speaking to remind myself as well as to remind you of what we should be doing. This applies when we are praying alone, if we're at home or praying by ourselves, because a distraction from prayer is the opposite of what we seek. It is an affront to God, with whom we are speaking, to interrupt, to look at or use a cell phone for any reason. Similar to, but on an infinite level, the rudeness of using a phone, for example, at the dinner table or while speaking to someone else. Of course, unless it's an emergency. In shul, it's even worse, because using a cell phone in the synagogue, in addition to the affront to God, causes others to be distracted from their prayer, which is a terrible harm and insensitivity. Sadly, in many shuls, including, I am sorry to say, our shul ADATH, the situation is dire, and the harm it causes to prayer is evident. We need to be better. Cell phones should be silenced and ignored during prayer. If you are concerned there will be an emergency or crisis you might legitimately need to respond to, of course, you need to attend to it. But it must be done in a way that does not distract others. My practice, because I do get emergencies and crises that I do have to respond to, is I do check my phone during prayer. If there is something I should legitimately respond to, I then walk out of the sanctuary to do so. And this is a minimal and obvious responsibility for anyone who is compelled to look at a phone during prayer. Now, for such a situation, the phone must be silenced and on vibrate so as not to cause unnecessary distraction. There is a practical issue I learned about recently, that a person who must respond to crises might feel if their phone is silenced and on vibrate, they will not notice it and miss it with potentially serious consequences. This happened to me a while ago. I got a call during Minyan, which was an emergency to which I needed to respond, but I did not notice the vibration, and I was not able to help that person. So from that time, I now keep my ringer on. But crucially, if you do this, if it is necessary for you, it is absolutely necessary to choose a tone that is as discreet as possible. I chose a tone that makes a single soft beep to minimize the distraction it causes as much as possible without missing the call. And then, as I said, I attend to it outside the sanctuary. Even if you legitimately have your phone with the ringer on during prayer, to have a tone that is distracting, like a tune or some outrageous sound, or even worse, something that is funny or attention-grabbing, this is a terrible affront to the others in the minyan, and it causes great animosity in shul and must be avoided at all costs. Reading emails, texts, websites during prayer is wrong. It is the opposite of what prayer should be. And this applies during all parts of prayer, including during Chazaras Hashatz, the reader's repetition of the Amidah, between the aliyos of the Torah reading, etc., and, of course, it goes without saying, when the rabbi is speaking. Very briefly, on Shabbos or Yom Tov, using a cell phone in any way is prohibited. According to most authorities, it is an Isser D'Rabbanan, a rabbinic prohibition, and therefore a cell phone is muksa, meaning it is an object that should not be handled on Shabbos or Yom Tov. A person who deals with emergencies, however, must have a cell phone at all times, including Shabbos and Yom Tov, of course, with all the provisos that I mentioned before. At the same time, for a person who normally does not use a phone on Shabbos, which is most of us, it is important to know when a phone should be carried and used. And this is an issue that should be discussed with an expert in these halachos, in this area of Jewish law. But generally, to give one practical guideline, any time on Shabbos or Yom Tov, you need to go to the hospital, or you need to accompany someone else to the hospital, or in any other way you legitimately need to set aside some of the laws of Shabbos and Yom Tov, you should have your phone with you. Just as we must be careful to not use a cell phone on Shabbos and Yom Tov when it is not called for, to the same extent, we must be careful to have and to use a cell phone when it is called for. And if in the moment you are not sure and there is no expert immediately available to you to ask, then take it and use it and ask later for guidelines for the future. But like all issues relating to health and safety, whenever in doubt, err on the side of setting aside the laws of Shabbos and Yom Tov, and on the side of protecting health and safety. Cell phones today are amazingly powerful. What we can do today so easily was not only impossible but unimaginable just a few years ago. Like everything in the world, we must be careful to only use it in the proper way. My friends, I want to wish you a great day and a wonderful Shabbos, and I look forward to seeing you soon in person.